Hello and welcome back to our review series of the 7th Doctor era. In this edition we're taking a look at season 25. What better way to look back when we're celebrating 60 years of Doctor Who and see how they celebrated 25 years of this show. If you haven't checked out the previous episode, season 24, I'll leave a link in the description below to that video so you can check out our thoughts on one of the most interesting seasons of classic Doctor Who. But without further ado, let's take a look at season 25.
So last time we spoke about how Remembrance was both of our first stories.
Yes.
And now here we are at last putting it on the tier lists.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a way it's a foregone conclusion. But at the same time, I can't help but feel a little less love for this one than I used to. Just through, I suppose, overexposure for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where you watch it so much you're scared you're going to break the DVD because you're like, how are you still working? 'Cause it's kind of on a loop, and you'll kind of recreate it with your action figures. Because I'd have like the like Anakin Skywalker Jedi ship, and I'd have like the Daleks coming out of it. Or Remembrance, like it was one of those stories where you just have one in the background and recreate scenes with your figures.
Yeah.
And this
you know it back to front after a while, don't you?
Yeah, so when it comes to watching this for this series, I skipped it because I know it. I don't need to watch it, and it's one of those things where my head wants to put it, my heart wants to put it top tier, but my heart wants to put it lower. You know?
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because suddenly I can't get that same childhood joy from it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't think that's anything wrong with the story.
No, it's really good.
Yeah. That's more just me overexposing myself to it, knowing it back to front. That you sort of, it's easy for your attention to slip while watching it, isn't it? Because you know what's going on. You sort of look at your phone or whatever.
You phase in and out to the bits you like. And there's a lot to like. The cliffhangers are brilliant.
Yeah. I do feel like growing up as well, you get to appreciate the subtext of this much more. Because obviously you've got the sign in the window moment that, you know, it definitely hits you as a child, but you realise that that's just the cherry on top of the cake when it comes to the commentary that this story has, really. But when it comes to characters like, is it Ratcliffe?
Yeah, Ratcliffe, yeah.
Yeah. And how all of that shakes out. And like, I didn't really understand Ace's anger at that betrayal from what's the sergeant's name?
I want to say Mike, but it's not Mike.
Yeah, it is Mike. It's Mike, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, as a child, I never really quite understood Ace's anger at Mike's betrayal, but growing up more, you really do realise like why he is so despicable, why he deserves that reaction from Ace. And yeah, I think it's funny that, you know, often you will have people like that who are rather charming and everything, but beneath the surface do hold these horrible views. And so it's wonderful how this story calls all that out. I think perhaps my favourite scene is the 7th Doctor in the cafe, you know, talking about ripples bouncing off of the shore and creating waves, and, you know, the smallest decision having the hugest impact later on. It's wonderful stuff, and obviously Sylvester McCoy delivers it far better than I just did. But yeah, it's such a simple scene.
And it's such a shift
me, it just,
from what's gone before 24, isn't it?
Yeah, after all the action of this story as well, to have something more somber there in that one scene, I feel it's rather delightful. It is my favourite scene of the story. There's just something quite wholesome and heartwarming about. And I'm glad that they cut the little extended bit of it, of the girl watching through the window. I don't know if it's the deleted scene. Yeah, I sort of think it works better just as it is, really. And I mean, same for most of this story, really, when it comes to some of those deleted scenes. Like, a lot of these McCoy stories, particularly when you get to 26, are improved vastly by the re-edition of some of those deleted scenes. Remembrance, I think, is probably the one that fares best on its own, with perhaps the exception of another one coming up on this season. But, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm torn. It's either 4 spoons or 5 spoons.
I think it is one of the highlights of the McCoy era, and I think I love the Imperial Daleks. I think it shows. It really has like the Michael Bay set pieces. What I think the McCoy years has a lot of, and I think this is the pinnacle of it.
Yeah, it really is well directed. I think it's a wonderful miracle of a script in a way that Ben Aranovich just sort of admitted to coming at this without really too much planning there, and just sort of writing and coming out with this miracle, and then sort of did the same for Battlefield to lesser success. But yeah, I think it is just a lot of fun still, with a good bit of subtext there beneath,
but done in a sci-fi way as well, because you have the Daleks having the same argument, as it were.
I like the fact that it is making that comparison, perhaps for the first time.
Yeah,
like literally comparing the space fascists from the future to fascists in our own world. I think we've got to go 5 spoons, really.
I think just for our inner child. Glorious.
5 spoons to stir our tea with.
Exactly.
There.
Now for something
to dunk into our tea.
Oh dear. Happiness Patrol is one of those stories I was really excited to experience, and when the 8 Adventure set came out, that was the one I was like, forget Dragonfire, I want to go Happiness Patrol, because you see images of the Candyman and you're like, I want to know more about it. And when I found out it was a 3-parter, my heart sank, and I watched it and my heart sank even further. It's not that great, is it?
No, I see a lot of love for this one, and I tried to go into it sympathetically, because for this video, it was my first time watching it in full. I watched part 1 probably 5 years ago now, and just couldn't get into it, and then just never went back. It wasn't like okay, I'm gonna stop this now and not touch it. It was I'll save that for a little bit later, and then kept putting it off until eventually it's just like, you're gonna have to watch part 1 again. Yeah. So doing this video was sort of an excuse to finally watch it as well in full. Tried to go into it with an open mind, but just couldn't love it. And it's a shame, because I feel like I should appreciate the political commentary here. It was apparently the mission statement was to take down Thatcher's government at the time. And I mean, you can sort of see that in a way with Helen M, but only on the surface of it being a female in charge of this planet. Maybe I'm not well versed enough in the politics of the late 80s to notice all the little jabs that they put in there. But for the most part, it does seem fairly generic satire.
I think the Macro Terror does the story better in this sort of, let's create this artificial happy environment.
Yeah.
And I think as well, it's meant to be outside, isn't it? This I think has the syndrome of late 80s Doctor Who studio.
Yeah, it's the studio bound one of the season, isn't it? Because with these 3-parters, you always had one entirely in studio and one entirely on location, just for the way the budget shook out.
And I think, especially when you have the go-karts, like if this was done on location, you could get a bit of speed on them, but I don't think this story allows it for it. And maybe it would work better as a noir. Maybe that's what we've got to wait for, like the collection set. And I think It's a shame the Candyman's not in it that much, and Helena and the Candyman, I don't think interact with each other at all, really.
No, because I think she more deals with his sidekick, really, doesn't she?
Yeah,
For a while. And I mean, I like the ending of the two men going off together to leave the woman. I think that's rather funny, and that's probably the gayest this story gets, because it's also described as, you know, the gayest Doctor Who story. And again, you could kind of maybe reach for that in the subtext, but I don't know. None of it was really calling to me. But then I'm saying that as a cis straight man, so there is probably a lot I'm missing there. But yeah, I can't say this story did a lot for me, which is a shame.
It's ridiculous with like Fifi as well. Like she gets blown up by some explosives right on her. Fight.
Yeah,
It's fight.
And then she just got a few plasters on her, hasn't she?
Got a few, and then Helena sends her back. The one thing she loves. You think that's be the fun thing you protect. Sends it back down and gets sort of knocked on the head by some polystyrene rocks. You're like, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of weird just coming and going. It feels very much like it's done on sets.
Yes.
Like, you know, just the way the characters come and go and everything. Like the fact that it's so easy to get into the Candyman's kitchen. There's it adds to the surreal quality that the story is perhaps going for.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just didn't feel surreal enough for me for it to work. It just felt more like, oh, these characters have walked onto another set now.
It feels very
I didn't believe the world at all.
Pastiche of Doctor Who. Like you can imagine like Helena sort of guards with the big guns being in like a two Ronnies Doctor Who sketch, you know, that sort of worm that turned type feel, really.
Yeah, something more to mock Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I'd rather than actually be Doctor Who.
Taken serious, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Sylvester McCoy gives a good performance. I like that scene at the end between him and Helena.
Yeah.
I think that's delivered.
That was his audition, wasn't it? That was that was his audition scene.
Yeah, well, with Janet Fielding.
Yeah. And I like the sniper bit when he's like, pull the trigger. Like, that's good. That's
my life.
Yes.
Yeah, it has its moments, and there are times where I'm watching it and thinking, oh, is it finally going to get good? But then it just never does. I feel like it's messy. I watched through the deleted scenes as well to see if there was anything there where it's sort of like been ruined in the edit. But for the most part, there wasn't really. There was one character, you know, the more sympathetic Happiness Patrol member who is good friends with Ace. Like, she actually gets an introduction scene originally, but then that got cut. And that sort of makes her feel less like she's come out of nowhere when she's suddenly with Ace for her first actual scene that made it into the story. But yeah, for the most part, it didn't really come together. I don't think there was any introduction for the local inhabitants of the planet.
They're really underdeveloped, the pipe people.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how they pick on Ace's lingo so quickly. And thank goodness for Doctor and Ace saying what they're saying, because they're so inaudible.
Yeah, they just feel like so superfluous to the story as well.
Yeah.
They almost feel like a worse version of the Optera from Web Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the design.
That sort of vibe. Yeah.
They're quite creepy, that sort of rodent. They're quite unsettling. But yeah, there's not really much to them.
No, they're not developed enough within the story. And yeah, it just feels like a first draft, the way it all comes together so sloppily. I feel like there's good concepts within here. There's a lot I should like. It should be very creepy with the Candyman. Okay. A rather wonderful design. Yeah, he's just not used enough. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? How, you know, everyone looks at this story and you think, oh, the Candyman, he's your main villain. But no, it's Helena. And the Candyman's just, you know, there, really. So, I had 2 spoons.
Yeah, I agree.
There's
I
effort
agree with that one.
Yeah. I prefer it to Dragonfire.
Yeah.
And I feel like it tries.
Yes.
But it just doesn't come together for me whatsoever. And now we come to Silver Nemesis. Which is shit.
No. I like this one.
I have fun. It's the fun kind of shit for me.
It's the season 24 type of rubbish in a way.
It is this season's Delta and Abandonment, to be fair.
Yeah,
it's like both the three-parter on location and both just mad throw whatever sticks at the wall and hope.
And it's a lot of, do you like jazz? Yes, excellent.
Yeah. But I think Delta does it all better. I prefer Delta to Silver Nemesis.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It feels quite Moffat-y, I would say, part one. How it just zips all over like location to location, and I think when it gets to,
but it doesn't have the names there to tell you what location you're in, so it's
that's
Chibnall. Moffat and not Chibnall.
Yeah. I think it loses its steam in part two after the big battle. I think that's when it kind of just fizzles out.
It feels like it doesn't know what to do with Lady Painfort in part three as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's just sort of babbling around there for a while after having quite a presence early on, and then it feels like the Cybermen sort of dip in and out as well. The Nazis quite quickly get forgotten. Again, it does a lot of things similar to Remembrance.
Yeah.
You know, with the ancient device that the Doctor has history with and has forgotten about, but now has to go deal with that stuff and uses it to trick the enemy he's fighting into destroying themselves in the end. You know, there's so many similar beats there. And you've also got enemies fighting against each other and not just one lot of enemies versus the Doctor. So yeah, there's certainly it's rather unfortunate they came out so close together, especially with this supposedly being the 25th anniversary story. But Remembrance is the one we all choose to see as that story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the unofficial one. Yeah,
it's the unofficial silver anniversary, and there's a reason when talking about anniversary stories, this one sort of gets skipped over as well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, partly because it's not a multi-Doctor story, so you can easily use that as the excuse.
Yes.
But really, it's just because it's not that fondly thought of and not really representative of the show as a whole. I mean, this is also where you get much more of your Cartmel master plan coming into play, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where it's hinted at the most. You literally have Doctor Who being said.
Again, very Moffat. Very Moffat.
Yeah, true. But yeah, that doesn't do anything for me. Like, at least with Moffat, it felt like it had a story purpose.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it feels like it's just teasing. Oh, who is the Doctor? Oh, we'll never know.
Because we got cancelled.
I mean, would they even have revealed anything anyway?
I don't know. I think Lungbarrow's sacred text, so who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you've also apparently got set up the Curse of Fenric in here. With the chess set in Lady Painful's office.
But I would say the next story kind of sets up sort of the Ace stuff very well, but we'll get onto it.
Yeah. I mean, show it 3 spoons?
Yeah, I think it's up there.
Yeah, 3 opposing factions. There's a spoon for each of them.
Exactly. They all get the nemesis. But yeah, very good. And I do like the more manipulative 7th Doctor in this. Especially towards the actual nemesis going, no, you're not free yet. I've got stuff to finish.
But again, it's all stuff I feel like is done better in Remembrance.
Yeah, I guess maybe there's more dialogue between the Doctor with the nemesis than there is for Doctor.
Yeah, I suppose nemesis can actually talk back, can't it?
Yeah.
But then again, Hand of Omega does do its little beepings.
Yeah, that's true.
But here
Take it away. This is yours.
It may very well be my favourite McCoy. There's some strong ones coming up as well. I think it edges out Remembrance for me at the moment, no?
I think, maybe because I'm not familiar with it that much.
Yeah. Strongest of this batch so far that we've covered for me. It's just a wonderful story. Like, it's doing everything right in terms of the more whimsical 7th Doctor stuff, but also that darker edge as well. circuses suit it so well because there is something creepy about clowns.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Ace feels it in this story. And so it's nice to get that duality played out across the whole story. And, ultimately it is, again, a tribute to Doctor Who as a whole, really, isn't it?
It's like WizKids, a commentary on Doctor Who fandom,
Yeah. Like, it has the line of, I know it's not as good as it used to be, but I'm still terribly excited.
Yeah, that's kind of the state of the show. Like, we're still tuning in week after week after. We know what it's capable of.
Yeah, you've got the Captain and Mags as like a almost Doctor companion mirror there, like a distorted version. Yeah, and just the whole Gods of Ragnarok.
Yes.
The fact that they are these entities that view entertainment as content, really, something to be consumed. They don't view the people doing the entertainment as people, as artists with a voice to share. They view them as something to drain dry, which is rather fitting at the moment with the current writers' strike in America.
I think it's more prevalent now with how we consume media. We sort of become more passive with it.
With that. Yeah. Because there is a view of media as something to just be cancelled. It's not as people sharing their vision with the world, which is what art should be, really. And it's how the Psychic Circus started out. But instead now it has to be profitable, it has to be meet a certain score or something, or it gets cancelled. And it can be very unforgiving out there now, even more so as streaming services are trying to cut back and such. And so, there's a very strong metatextual commentary to this that becomes, sadly, more relevant as the decades have gone past. But and I mean, it also poses the question of, should Doctor Who maybe die?
Yeah.
In a way, with the fact that if you're doing it for the love of it, it's different to doing it because you're being forced to do it, which is sort of what JNT was doing at this point, because he wanted to leave after 5 Doctors, but had to stick around another few years, tried to get out again, but no, the BBC pinned him down into this job until the bitter end.
And he forced himself to make this because he didn't want another Sharda, because this was hit by a load of strikes, this story, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it was his baby, wasn't it, as well? Like, I think he took a keen interest in this one because he's very much got that variety background. Circuses, I'm sure, play into that. And so having it all shot in a tent in the car park, brilliant how that works out. Yeah. And Segonax as well is a wonderfully realised quarry. Having the planet in the background. It's a wonderful image, that of the circus, isn't it, with the planet in the rings.
The desert of Dorset, as McCoy would say.
Like the old burnt out bus that they've got. I love that. There's so many creepy moments with the ticket conductor and such.
Great.
Yeah. You've got all these little set pieces that come together really well. Like, I feel like in other McCoy stories, they could be very disparate and, not really feel cohesive when it all comes together. But here, I feel it all really works. The chief clown, Ian Reddington, isn't it, the actor?
Yeah.
I mean, brilliant performance.
It's subtle gestures, like it's subtle little movements that just, everything's well thought out. And it's brilliant.
That little hand movement is wonderful. And it's a brilliant performance, mostly silent, but so menacing as well with the voice. It's sort of not really the voice you expect to come from that, but at the same time, it's perfect for it. I love after Bellboy's death, the fact that he's sort of calling him mad for doing this. The music's building, and then he's just like in shock, and then suddenly pulls that gesture out of nowhere, like the firework gesture, Like, it's brilliant stuff. I cannot get enough of this story. Like, just, I want to go watch it again. It's so good. I mean, are you going to take it down a peg? How do you feel about this one?
I've got an interesting relationship with this story because, like, when the DVD came out in 2012, I think it was, and
was it the last McCoy?
It was the last McCoy, and it was the last McCoy story I watched, and I loved it. I thought it was my third favorite McCoy story at the time. And then I rewatched it in 2020, and I was kind of like, not really liking it, but rewatched it for this, and it is good. It is very good. I don't think I love it as much as you do.
That's fair.
But I think there's a lot to take away from it because it's the first sort of time the Doctor's sort of testing Ace, isn't it? With like the fear of clowns and still proceed.
I also like that the Seventh Doctor feels a bit more out of his depth in this one as well. Like he's not necessarily manipulating things, but it can still be a dark story. And then how that all comes together at the end as well is wonderful. And, you know, very much playing to McCoy's strengths as an actor and performer.
Yeah, with the clown, and the physics, a lot of stuff like that with the circus, Yeah,
that all comes together very nicely. So, yeah, I mean, for you, it seems like that's often the way with McCoys, though, where you love them at first, and you have a bit of a pull back from them, and then you warm to them again, because I think it was the same with Delta.
Yeah.
I've
got a weird relationship with the McCoy years, because I think I've got that sort of childhood look, but I like it, and then I rewatch it now, and I don't kind of have the same love for it.
Yeah. It's a shame. I mean, we'll see how that plays out with 26 next month, though. But is it 5 spoons?
I'll let you have it because my favourite's still yet to come.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that my favourite gets 5 spoons.
Yeah. It's like a goodwill gesture.
Yeah. But I think everything you said is completely bang on, and I think that it is a good story. It is a good story. And
what about season 25 overall? Because I mean, we've got the main meat of the season, the 2 4-parters. That's more than half of it is up the top there.
Yeah,
but I feel like overall it's a bit of a weird one because I don't feel like it has the same cohesive feel as a whole season that 24 does. 26 do. Like this feels much more sporadic a season. You know,
you've got many highs and lows, I'd say.
Yeah, but not just in terms of quality, in terms of what it's saying overall. And like, it's hard to pin down a real tone and feel for this season.
Yeah,
in the same way that you can with 24 and 26. Yeah, I mean, probably 4 spoons, I suppose, because I think it is better than 24 overall. Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'd agree with
certainly. Having watched Happiness Patrol now and rewatched Silver Nemesis, my estimations for this season have gone down a bit. I don't know. Will it still be my favourite of the McCoy seasons?
See, 26 I've always cited as my favourite McCoy.
I don't see. I sort of foolishly went for 25 before having watched Happiness Patrol, just because of how much I liked Remembrance and Greatest Show, and didn't mind Silver Nemesis too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, Happiness Patrol has dragged it down a bit now, so we'll see how all that shakes out next month.
I guess that concludes the McCoy years part 2 ranked so far. Let us know your favourites. Let us know your least favourite. Are we right? Are we wrong?
Sorry to any fans of Happiness Patrol out there.
We know you're out there. We know you're out there.
There are definitely quite a few of you out there who appreciate this story. We're sorry that we just can't see it in the same way.
And, you know, some things just take a little bit longer for us to appreciate. And I'm sure we'll find love for it eventually.
I'm sure 3-5 years' time, this list wouldn't look the same as it does now. You know, our tastes are ever evolving.
Yeah, I mean, when the collection set comes out, there might be a new version where we're like, yeah, I get it. I see what we're going for with it, you know?
Yeah, I can't see myself watching it until the collection comes along now, though. I mean, that's going to be my next reason to put it on, really. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Feel free to share any of your own thoughts in the comments below.
And we'll see you next month for season 26. Goodbye, everyone.
Take care.